You didn't know it when you woke up this morning, but today is the day you become a sacrifice for a ritual. Imagine the sudden, paralyzing chill of black peat mud swallowing your bare feet. You look up into the gray, overcast sky as a heavy braided leather rope is slipped over your head and tightened against your throat. You close your eyes and take one last breath of spring air and let the darkness take you. Your loved ones lower your body into the thick black peat mud, curling you onto your side like you merely drifted off to sleep. They cover you up, completely confident that the swamp will swallow this ritual forever. They thought they hid their secret in the dark, but the earth, well, the earth always keeps receipts. On a cold Monday morning in May of 1950, the police department in Silkeborg, Denmark, received an alarming emergency message. 2 days prior, a family digging deep in a local peat bog to harvest winter fuel had uncovered a body. The family had been working the mud when they noticed something unusual breaking through the dark cliff of peat. While the men were skeptical, the woman rolled up her sleeves, knelt in the mire, and began digging with her bare hands. Her 11-year-old son watched in stunned silence as his mother pushed her fingers through the heavy mud, feeling the unmistakable shape of a human forehead beneath a pointed sheepskin cap. Looking down at the fresh tanned leather skin, the family panicked. Just days earlier, a schoolboy from Copenhagen had vanished in the area. They assumed they had just stumbled onto a fresh, brutal homicide scene. But when the police arrived and noted the body was buried 2.5 meters deep into undisturbed earth, they realized this wasn't a standard cold case. The local authorities stepped back, realizing this wasn't a crime scene for detectives. It was a crime scene for historians. The scene drew an anxious local crowd. Lying just 60 meters from solid ground was a man curled up in the fetal position, appearing completely at peace. Yet, even wrapped in mud, a terrifying detail was visible. A thick rope was knotted tightly around his neck. Recognizing the unprecedented nature of the find, the famous archaeologist Professor P.V. Glob was rushed to the site. As local newspapers lit up with rumors, some calling him the man from Bogville, while others argued over his gender, Glob officially christened him the Tollund Man, named after the tiny village where the finders lived. The team knew that exposing the body to the open air would trigger rapid decay. In a brilliant pioneering feat of preservation, workers built a massive wooden crate directly around the entire block of peat, encasing the dead man in his original tomb. It took a massive effort to hoist the heavy waterlogged crate out of the mire and transport it directly to the Silkeborg Museum, where his secrets would be meticulously unboxed. When scientists opened the crate, they were confronted by a prehistoric paradox. The Tollund Man was lying on a thin bed of peat, directly above a layer of ancient sand. Radiocarbon dating on his soft tissue sent a shockwave through the lab. He had died around 220 BC, during the pre Roman Iron Age. He had been dead for over 2,400 years, yet he looked like he had passed away yesterday. In fact, his head was so perfectly preserved that when scientists removed it for study, it didn't shrink or wrinkle at all. It had retained its exact living shape, but the body beneath it, it told a different story. The weight of the peat for over 2,400 years had slowly flattened his torso, leaving a flawlessly preserved face resting on a compressed, fragile frame. This was the magic of a raised bog. In these unique oxygen free wetlands, stagnant water combines with specific chemical compounds to halt bacterial growth entirely. The bog naturally pickles organic material, tanning human skin, hair, and nails, just like a leather tanner treats a hide. But the earth is a selective caretaker. When researchers examined him, they found he was a physical split screen of preservation. His right side, which was facing downwards into the protective mud, was flawlessly intact, locking in his wrinkles, his short cropped red hair, which was stained crimson by the bog water, and his serene facial features. But his left side, which faced upwards toward the oxygen rich surface, had suffered decomposition. His height had shrunk to just 161 centimeters, and his arms and hands were almost completely skeletonized. The ultimate answers lay in his final autopsy. He wore a masterfully stitched sheepskin cap tied tightly under his chin with leather straps, but beneath the cap lay the definitive cause of death. The braided rope was strong enough to support an adult male's weight, and it had left a deep, undeniable furrow crushed into the skin of his throat and under his chin. The forensic verdict was absolute. The Tollund Man had been hanged. Medical examiners noted that his cervical vertebrae wasn't broken and his tongue wasn't swollen. This means that this wasn't a violent, grasping struggle. The suspension of the rope cut off the blood flow to his brain almost instantly. He went unconscious in seconds, falling into the dark with the same serene expression he wears today. But why? The final clue was locked inside his digestive tract. 12 hours before his execution, he ate a purely vegetarian meal, a coarse porridge made of barley, wheat, flax, and wild seeds, mixed with stagnant bog water. There was no meat, no fruit, no fresh greens. This was the classic survival diet of a brutal, desperate northern winter, a time when livestock had run dry and families faced starvation. History reveals that this wasn't a standard criminal execution. The man was an act of ultimate societal desperation. He was a solemn sacrifice given back to the gods of the bog in exchange for warmth, spring growth, and survival. And he wasn't alone. Just 61 meters away, in the exact same mire, archaeologists later discovered the Elling woman, a 30-year-old woman with intricate braided hair, also wrapped in sheepskin, who suffered the exact same fate at the exact same time. The Iron Age villagers walked away from those frozen marshes, believing their desperate rituals were lost to the water forever. They thought the swamp would bury their sins, but they didn't know one crucial rule. The past can't stay buried, because the earth always keeps receipts.